I played Doom The Dark Ages and discovered that it is Doom.
No shit.
Yes, the developers actually dared to try something new, continuing the Doom series instead of making Eternal 2. How dare they? It's unclear what they were thinking, but here's what they ended up with. First, I'd like to talk about the story. If you like good old John Carmack believe that story in the game is like a story in a porno film, it's supposed to be there, but it's not that important, then I think you'll be pleasantly surprised by how subtle the storytelling is here. Sure, there's definitely more lore and narrative than in the early games, but just like before, it doesn't really matter much now either. In the end, the only job the Slayer has is to rip and tear. Do we really need anything else?
No!
But if you do need something else, or at least if you're a little curious, like I was, well, the story is fairly simple, but I have to admit it's pretty interesting. The events take place after Doom 64 and before Doom 2016. We've already been picked up on the Argent Denure and upgraded to the Slayer, but now the makers have decided to put us on a magical leash. They're basically using us like a chained attack dog, releasing us on demons when they got too rowdy. Meanwhile, a demonic prince named Azrak, clearly influenced by grind culture, wants a nice promotion and aims to become a king. So, with the help of Witch from some cosmic dimension, he's trying to obtain a powerful artifact, the Heart of Argent.
They fear him, and so your dominion over hell is not absolute.
The story is easy enough to follow. Demons attack humanity, humans fight back as best as they can, which isn't very well. So the makers, an angelic race that once promised humanity the protection in exchange of worship, sent their fat Bishop Creed to restore order using Doomslayer as their blunt instrument. The setup is basic and as complex as plot of 80s action films. Honestly, when I first started playing, I was about as interested in the story as I will be in the bar tales from random strangers about their exes.
We had 2 good years and 2 bad years, but not all at once.
You don't say. Huh?
But then I got into it. Not enough to go reading all the location descriptions in the codex, of course, but enough to watch the cutscenes with interest and eagerly jump into the next mission, just to catch a glimpse of what happens next. So I played the game on PlayStation 5 and I was more than satisfied with the graphics and performance. The frame rate was stable and I didn't notice any lag. I really like the visual style though. The levels are very diverse. The war-torn Argent Denure with its vast battlefields, medieval cities, and mysterious dense forests. The familiar hell, which might be hard to surprise Doom fans with, but still looks impressive, especially if you stop for a moment to take in the environment and those monstrous panoramic views. But the most impressive area, of course, is the Cosmic Realm. In my opinion, it's one of the best representations of Lovecraftian vision of the worlds of ancient gods, and I'm beyond thrilled that developers decided to include its mythology in the game. Not only does it give players the chance to explore new, jaw-dropping locations, but Lovecraft's myth also, as it turns out, complement the Doom universe perfectly. I also noticed that the Dark Ages really reminded me of awesome games like Quake and Quake 2, Unreal and Unreal Tournament 2004. I think it's that the hybrid of medieval brutality and futuristic technology that's woven into every aspect of the game. Let's start with the locations. You can be on a space station in one level, only to find yourself in an ancient city ripped straight out of the Lord of the Rings in the next. Then there's the characters. Take the Slayer himself. He's got this badass spiked armor and an epic fur cloak. Honestly, in the cutscenes where he stands without his helmet, I was getting some serious berserk vibes, boosting the Slayer's coolness from a solid 10 out of 10 to an 11 out of 10. Or look at the Argent Warriors. They look like medieval knights in full armor, yet they fire plasma weapons and communicate via radio, pressing 2 fingers in their ear, which is kinda cringy and cool at the same time. Or of course your giant good boy Serath, a mecha dragon clad in metal armor and jet engines. Could anything possibly be more metal than that? Speaking of metal, I can't say I was blown away by the music. I don't know what it was, maybe the audio mix, maybe the soundtrack itself, Maybe the way it's used in the game, like how it switches between combat and exploration, but I just didn't feel the music as much as I'd hoped. It didn't ruin the experience for me, but I did have this lingering sense that something was missing. On the other hand, the sound effects were top notch. From the gunfire and battle sounds to the cherry on top, the sound of the Doom guys slamming in the ground. Alright, all of this good and well, but what about the gameplay, you may ask? At its core, just like before, it's all about methodically and brutally exterminating the demon population. However, this time you'll fight them in 3 modes. The classic, on foot, using a pretty solid arsenal including the newly introduced shield, firearms and melee weapons. Then there are several levels where you control a giant mech. And finally, there are levels where you fly on a dragon. While playing as a Slayer remains the core and the most solid mode, the mech and dragon sections left me with mixed feelings. On the one hand, it's excellent fan service. I won't deny that the kid inside me squealed with the joy when I found myself towering high above the battlefield, piloting a giant robot. You can see the battles raging far below, but even the toughest enemies look no bigger than bugs, and you can obliterate entire demon tank squads just by walking over them. On the other hand, I can't help but point out how shallow the combat itself feels in these sections. All you really do is brawl with other giant demons in melee combat. You mash a single button to build up a special attack charge, occasionally dodging the enemy strikes. Those attacks are so clearly telegraphed, it's like they're coming from yesterday. After dodging, you hit the finishing move on to the next demon and repeat. Occasionally you'll get a skyscraper-sized minigun to play with. And while conceptually it's awesome, in practice it's surprisingly boring. Killing demons with it feels even duller and slower than in regular combat. The dragon section is a bit more of a riot. I like how you can explore large vertical levels, engage in dogfights with demonic fighter jets, and land on specific parts of the map. However, when you need to take out fortified weapons on massive flying fortresses or break through specific points, you're back to the same basic combat mechanics as with mech. The Slayer hovers in the place, you hold down the fire button, occasionally dodge the slow, easily telegraphed return fire, and finish the enemy off with charged strike. Things change completely when you're back on foot, knee-deep in the chaos. Let me just say up front, the game isn't as slow as you might have heard from forums or reviews. The Slayer moves at decent pace. In fact, you can rush into a horde of enemies by dashing with the shield, shredding weaker fodder enemies into pieces. Then it turns into a bloody dance around stronger enemies. They, from imps to cyber demons, attack with 2 types of strikes: parable attacks, highlighted with a green glow, and non-parable attacks, marked red. Red attacks usually happen when you're at a distance. It's best to avoid them, but you can block them. Just be careful, if you run out of stamina, you won't be able to use the shield for a few seconds. This is critical because parrying green attacks is a core combat mechanic. It's not just a defensive move, it also deals damage and stuns demons. Most fights happen at close range, where you mix parries with gunfire and melee strikes. Staying close is also important to land glory kills. These aren't as flashy as in Eternal, more often than not you'll just kick the enemy or bash them with the shield. But if you manage to execute a glory kill from above, you're treated to a wonderfully bloody and brutal spectacle. You can also throw your shield at enemies. This is a super useful ability, it destroys superheated shields and armor and instantly kills fodder demons. Throwing your shield at tougher demons stuns them, opening them up to a melee strikes or certain ranged attacks. For example, if you upgraded the Shredder, you can shoot at the shield embedded in a demon, causing ricochets that hit other enemies. By finding runes throughout the game, you can upgrade the shield along different branches and switch between them on the fly. There are 4 runes. Ground Fissure, my favorite. Successful parries create a fissure in the ground, dealing a massive AoE damage. Holy Swarm spawns homing swords like in Castlevania Symphony of the Night. Auto Turret spawns a shoulder mounted turret on successful parries, dealing damage and dropping health from demons. And Heaven Splitter deals electrical damage. Melee weapons include the Power Gauntlet, Flail and the Dread Mace. All of them require charges to use. The Dread Mace has just one charge, but it deals massive damage and fully restores ammo for all of your weapons. Fully upgrading melee weapons allows you to recharge their abilities faster by landing successful parries. Let's talk guns now. There's a good variety of them, catering to different tastes. I've seen plenty of complaints online that certain guns feel useless, but I strongly disagree. Each gun has its own quirks, and where one player ignores a weapon, another will find it essential. For example, I saw a lot of people say that Super Shotgun in the Dark Ages is underwhelming compared to the Combat Shotgun, which when fully upgraded deals solid damage and sets enemies on fire, generating extra armor shards, a super useful perk, especially on Nightmare difficulty. But for me, the Super Shotgun was the MVP. It shreds armor and at close range can tear massive chunks of flesh and HP from even the heaviest, most armored demons. Weaker enemies are reduced to nothing more than a bloody memory of their pitiful existence. Or take the rocket launcher for example. At first glance it might seem like a bad choice. It's dangerous to use at close range, where you'll spend most of your time, and the damage feels underwhelming. But if you fully upgrade it, it becomes an excellent close quarters weapon, because the splash damage actually restores your health. I used the rocket launcher to beat the last two boss fights. And speaking of boss fights, they left me really satisfied. They range from bullet hell style shootouts to intense close quarters brawls. Plus, they're multi-phase, and call me old-fashioned, but I love multi-phase boss fights. And finally, the BFC. Yes, the Doom the Dark Ages equivalent of the BFG is a ballistic force crossbow, and it is awesome. When you're not busy ripping demons to shreds, you'll be exploring levels, hunting for secrets, gold, and amulets to upgrade your weapons. Some levels are more linear, while others are larger in scale, and here I have mixed feelings. At first, I really enjoyed the vastness of the locations, and I was genuinely excited to figure out how to access certain secrets. In Dark Ages, all secrets are marked on your map, but how to actually get to them sometimes is far from obvious. However, as the game went on, I started to feel a kind of suffocating fatigue whenever I was dropped into yet another semi-open world, tasked with roaming around huge areas, gathering upgrade resources, and ticking off various side objectives. I mean, I get it, all of this is optional, and nothing dramatic happens if you skip it, but my OCD just wouldn't let me leave a level without at least trying to uncover everything the game had in store. In my opinion, secrets in games should be like candy, rare and sweet. When there are too many of them, the process turns into a suffocating grind. I understand that this is a technique to artificially inflate playtime, but in my view, all these open world mechanics where you spend hours scavenging and hoarding are hopelessly outdated and need to stop. To sum up, this is a solid Doom, and I had a blast playing it. It's not perfect, it has its flaws, but I'm happy that devs tried to do something new, both aesthetically and technically. In fact, I think this might be my favorite Doom of the modern trilogy. And I can't wait to see what's next for the Doom series. This was Radio Nick, rip and tear everyone, and I'll see you in the next video.
Hellfire core identified. Destroy it.